Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Today is Monday, August 10th, 2026. It's currently 7 p.m. and I am calling this regular meeting of the City of Philomath City Council to order. On tonight's agenda, after a roll call, we will have a time for public comment, followed by our consent agenda with minutes from our July meetings. Under new business, we will discuss the League of Oregon Cities legislative priorities and determine our city's submission. After that, we'll look at a revamp of our facade grant program and then an extension of our current planning services contract with some term updates, followed by the Landmark Drive assessment lien. After that, we'll move on to reports of boards, commissions, committees, council liaisons, and staff, and then we'll have information and correspondence. So with that, could we have a roll call?
Present. Here. Rick Eastman.
Here.
Here. Rich Salsa.
Present.
Present. All right. First up, we have public comment. I don't see anyone in the room. Do we have anyone online? Okay. We have a public comment in the packet that I'll just make sure you all see. And then with that, we can move on to consent agenda. I would like to pull the July 27th, 2026 minutes off of the consent agenda just because I want to amend something on there. But anything else anyone wants to do, or can we vote on the July 13th? Okay. Then I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there a second? Okay. It's been moved by Mayor McMorran, seconded by Councilor Salsa to approve the consent agenda as amended, which only includes the July 13th motion, or the July 13th minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. That's approved unanimously. For July 27th, this is a minor thing. I just was reading through it and the wording of let me see where it is here. Am I on the right? Wrong one? There we go. On the bottom of page 3 of 6, which I think is page 11 in the packet, the wording that was originally in there kind of confused me for what happened with the vote being called, and then we couldn't count all the votes in time. I was looking at it through the lens of if I was reading these minutes 10 years from now, I'd be like, what? So I talked with Crystal before the meeting, and we reworded it on line 41 to read, Mayor McMorran called for the vote, but due to participation both in person and remotely, the votes could not be confirmed.
That's good.
Does that work for people? Okay. It's minor, I know. I see your face over there, Diane. So I'll move to amend the minutes from July 27th on page 3 of 6, line 41 and 42 to read, Mayor McMorran called for the vote, but due to participation both in person and remotely, the votes couldn't be confirmed. Is there a second on that? Okay. Been moved by Mayor McMorran, seconded by Councilor Andrade to amend page 3 of 6, line 41 and 42 of the July 27th minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. That passes. Motion is approved unanimously. And then I'll move to approve the minutes from Monday, July 27th as amended. Okay, it's been moved by Mayor McMorran, seconded by Councilor Salsa to approve the minutes from Monday, July 27th, 2026 as amended. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. And those minutes are also approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, we'll move into new business, starting with the LOC legislative priorities poll on page 15. I'm sure Chris can walk us through this, but just as a brief reminder, this is something the LOC asks cities to engage in before every legislative session to kind of guide their team of lobbyists during the session. It's a great resource that we have in the LOC. They have like 7 lobbyists that will spend, 6, I don't know, a good team that will spend all day, every day trying to advocate for cities, and they need us to tell them what to do, along with every other city in Oregon. So I think the management team had some recommendations from their perspective that they shared on the page 16. But the instructions from LOC are to have 5 or no more than 5, I'm assuming, priorities from the city that we want to submit that will then go into the pool with all the other cities' submissions, and that'll be how the board of LOC determines the actual direction. So, Chris, anything you want to add on that, or how you came up with these recommendations?
The only thing I would add is that all of these are important items for cities, right? So all of these are things that were discussed by the subcommittees. There's legislative committees that review this. And all of these would love to be priorities, but then you don't have priorities, right? You just have a whole bunch of list of things you're all trying to do. So they really do look for the tip of the spear here. What are the most important things to your city? So, we could debate this for a couple of hours and still end up with a list of 10 or 12, right? So I think my only encouragement would be just recognize that these are going to be priorities in one way or another. There is a team of 6 or 7 that are going to be dealing with a lot more than just the top 5. But for voting purposes for tonight, they've asked us for 5. So narrow down. We did, as staff looked at this, we did try to look at kind of relevance to Philomath as opposed to what would be good kind of big scale, big picture. We try to look for things that had some type of a Philomath lens to it, for better or for worse. So I'll leave it at that. Leave it to discussion. We were tempted to try to narrow it down to 5 as well, but it's like, well, again, there's several. So those were our top 10. If there's additional outside of that 10 that management team came up with that are up for discussion, great. But at the end of tonight, hopefully in the next few minutes, it'd be nice to have a list of 5 that I can submit to the survey tomorrow. So I will end with, I don't know a whole lot more about most of these initiatives other than what you've seen and been provided. That's why we provided you everything. I served on the housing legislative committee, so I have a little bit more insight on some of the housing policies being recommended. But outside of that, I've read this about as many times as you have, which is probably once or less.
Thank you very much, Chris. Councilor Crocker, did you have something?
Well, I have my very favorite. I
Okay.
read through and I gave it 2 stars. And that is the broadband. As a teacher, and I realized I retired a few years ago, there were kids that had no internet access. And it seems to me like providing, sometimes I just sit outside McDonald's and sometimes I just the lunch. But when that wasn't available, and a lot of assignments from the teachers have computer internet needed, I felt like this was a very important thing for us. Maybe not so much, I think we've got some in town, but rural, almost area.
Just to, are you talking about the promote the equitable development of sustainable telecom infrastructure? Okay.
Prioritize broadband
Yeah.
access and telecom infrastructure. Yeah.
Now, can I clarify, ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Are we voting, I misunderstood that. I thought we were voting on the general bolded topic. We're voting on one of the 10 specifics. Is that right? One of the 10 specifics? Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crocker. I'll just say really quick for the conversation. I really appreciate everything the management team did here. The only one that I really care about that is not, well, I shouldn't say that. The one I care about the most that I didn't see on that list was the public meetings law clarity.
Yes.
I would really advocate that we put that on our list. I was really engaged with that during the last session. And just as a quick reminder of how that went down, the legislature did pass that and then the governor vetoed it. So I think LOC is planning to come back with it again this session, and I would hope we could support that. So I would really push for that. The only other thing I'll add, and it's not a huge thing just because I don't really like the way they bundled it together. I was on the Tax and Finance Committee, and under the alcohol revenue modernization, something I really advocated for was the just in general lifting preemptions on city taxes. And I think for some reason that's what that in was specifically for alcohol taxes. that wasn't really my intent. My intent was just like, let city councils decide what to tax and not to tax. Right now, the state has like limits of like, oh, sure, you can have a local alcohol tax, but it can't be more than 3% or something. Or you can have a local cannabis tax, but it can't be more than 2.8%. You know, so I'm making these numbers up. But, and my just general philosophy is that the state can choose what their tax rates are, and we should be able to choose what our tax rates are. And I'm not advocating for increased taxes or for, you know, taxes in general, but I think that we are elected by our community to make those decisions rather than having the state sort of place these artificial limits on them. So I don't really, I'm not that invested in the alcohol revenue modernization as a whole. I just wanted to highlight the preemption exemption piece in there, but it's literally just means the state preempts, so like just jumps ahead of our ability to do something. So like, yeah, they just put a limit on it. Like they just say, yeah, you can have your own alcohol tax, but it can't be more than a certain percent. So like even if everyone in Philomath wants a 5% alcohol tax, we can't do that because the state has put a limit at 3% or something. Which just like, again, I think a 3% alcohol tax is fine. It's just a philosophical issue. If a community wants something, they should be able to do that without the state blocking that. So, yeah. Yeah. Please. Yeah, of course.
On page 26 of that, invest in community or energy resilience and disaster planning. You know, I just think that's always a good idea. So I thought that was worth considering. And then the second one was, just I guess because we're in the middle of the filtration and all the things we're doing with water, the info on page 34, infrastructure funding. I think it's good to consider maybe where we can get some assistance, how we can make things a little more feasible for our small town infrastructure wise. And in reading over the recommendation, warrant, I think there was some merit to what it was saying as far as the background and the recommendation there. So I was kind of pro infrastructure funding as well. And it sounds like it's kind of maybe an underserved thing, but something that we really need.
Yeah. Yes, Councilor Salsa.
If I might make a suggestion, it might make Chris's job a little bit easier. Maybe we want to just take a straw sort of vote here with where we are and then maybe kind of rank choice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of gives a little bit of a curve.
Yeah, I think.
And then, right, because I would like on the very top of my list of things to do, I would put infrastructure funding first. For example. And then followed very quickly by administrative procedures and act reform. That would be like my number 2. So I would just do the top 5, right, for my top 5.
Yeah.
3 would be the transportation package.
Okay.
4 would be the energy resilience disaster planning. And then 5 would have, let's see, hang on just a sec, where am I? Full funding and streamlining for housing production.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy to do a more sort of like, you know, put dots on a thing. But
5-point star, number 1, 3, 2, 1, and that would mathematically.
I think I just also want to hear, like, is there anything else that's not already been on this list or mentioned that we want to have in the conversation? But yeah.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about what some of it might mean for specifically that staff had recommended, I'm not sure if I completely understand maintain local control of a safe modern right of way. Is it just like, so it sounded like there's only like a certain amount of time in which we have access to the right of way, or the franchise has access. And so this would like allow either party to access the right of way to benefit the public. Like if there's anything that needs to be like fixed or what have you. Is that correct?
What page?
20. It's the second one on the page. underneath your
I
head.
see it.
Chris, I don't know if you know more about this, but I know just that, I think where this is coming from is there has been a concerted effort by some, I think specifically like internet and telecom companies to push for legislation that says that they don't have to pay franchise fees and have right-of-way like agreements with cities anymore. I think it's just for both. I mean, I really appreciate the background that's provided here. I do think it's a sort of a purely financial argument on both sides.
Right, right.
But yeah, I don't know if you
Yeah,
know.
the only thing I'd add is like, the argument I've heard is that they're more than happy to pay franchise fees to the state, but in lieu of that, they wouldn't want to pay franchise fees to all of the municipalities.
I see.
And so, hey, state legislators, what do you think about that plan, right? So it is kind of this like, if the state's gonna continue to collect franchise fees or
Okay.
take that, you can't, due to the expense of cities not bill franchise fees, which pay for our street upkeep, right? And
Yeah.
maintain our roads. So I think it's, again, local control over local streets. The city shouldn't be able to come in and not allow a city to take franchise fees.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I just wasn't quite sure what, like, what the impact would be if that were allowed. But cool, thank you.
I think where the mayor was going is I kind of like the idea of doing some type of a straw poll. So I've got on page 16, kind of the 10 that management had recommended. I've added broadband, public meeting law clarity, emergency resilience and disaster planning,
That's already on.
which is already on there. Yeah, so that's a check. Okay, so it's not new there. And then I had infrastructure funding too, and that's not new.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 added. Are there others? I didn't catch all the ones that Rich was saying. I was trying to follow on. Are there others that you mentioned, Counselor Salsa, that aren't on the list that management provided?
Nope, they were all on, I've actually saw ratepayer assistance as well, that sort of popped into mind. But I think having the infrastructure funding kind of rolls into that, you know what I mean?
No, that
So
was,
some of that is kind of, yeah,
that was my thought is
a
like,
little umbrella-ish.
yeah, if they provide funding for infrastructure, that should naturally keep utility rates lower.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I would rather fund that side of it than just subsidize bills while you're not actually solving the problem, you know? Yeah.
So are there any other, outside of those 7 then, that we want to add to this list? And maybe we can just do a straw poll.
Yeah.
Once we get a kind of complete list of any.
I found the autonomous vehicles interesting, seeing and writing in some of those. It's odd, and there are some accidents happening, and whether we really want them in our town, I don't know. And the city-supported street sign tradition.
I love that one.
Seems like that's a no-brainer to me, but.
Yes, it does.
There, I will say that some of these management didn't advocate for, just because they are kind of no-brainers, and there's going to be pretty simple or easy legislature to do it. So I guess we were mindful of that when we were picking the 10 that we were recommending for you to choose from, but some of these are going to happen or more likely to happen depending on which way the legislative session goes. We didn't want to necessarily waste the vote either. We really want to try to advocate for things that were Philomath impactful, would impact Philomath. So like the autonomized vehicles, maybe in a couple of years, that'll be something that Philomath is getting hit with, but right now I don't see us being the guinea pig for autonomous vehicles. Although we were for autonomous robots, but we kind of had a corner on that. So autonomous vehicles might be something further down that Beaverton and Portland and Salem are going to deal with first, and we'll kind of get it rolled down. I think management's comment on that was eventually autonomous. What's that?
Are they not allowed in Oregon at this time?
I think that they're looking at what are the new rules that will need to be put in place to put limits on them or oversight or.
I think they just aren't really.
A lot of it has to do too, that it pops up more in the metropolitan area,
Yeah.
around the airports.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Migrated to autonomous driving stuff, they sort of cluster into there first. So I kind of agree with Chris, it's gonna be a while before it sort of trickles up to.
I would agree. I mean, I think it's an interesting concept. We just don't even really have taxis here. So like, you know, I feel like a lot of cities, the challenge is like these autonomous taxis are replacing real taxis and like we got not a lot to replace. So yeah, they do. We also, I feel like it's not like we're clogged up with Uber traffic, right? You can get one. Yeah,
Just trying to focus on what will really benefit our community.
yeah, yeah.
Is what I think. Good.
So, oh,
I don't have-
yeah, Councilor Andrade, did you have something else?
So I was hoping for some clarification on the Energy and Environment Committee between, like, I think it's important to look into the energy efficiency planning and project development. And it sounds like that might be something that the city, like, I'm trying to figure out like what the difference is between that and then the support administrative capacity, like what stage we are at and like which.
What are you looking at?
Page 27 and 28. 27 at the bottom is resource programs for energy efficiency planning and project development. I feel like we're there, but I don't quite understand support administrative capacity on the next page. And wanted to make sure that I'm not overlooking something and that might be more
Gotcha.
where we're at, if that makes sense. Anyone had any other insight into that? Well, in that case, I mean, because that would sound like, oh, we need, like they would provide like support for, say, like solar panels or like, you know, planning to like move over to electric vehicles or something like that, correct?
Are you talking about the resource programs or the support increase?
No, I'm going back, sorry, to the resource programs. But like, that's what that sounds like to me. And then the other one seems more like a bigger city thing, but I don't know.
Specific support administrative capacity, what I gleaned from that is it's more making sure that state agencies have the staffing so that they're not the bottleneck. Because I think right now,
I
like
see.
even if you want to do some
Yes,
clean energy project or something, if it's
You're
gonna
not
take 8
getting-
months to get approved by the Department of Energy, like that's kind of the challenge more than, you know, so I think that's what that one is about from what I'm
that makes more
seeing
sense.
there. I think the first one is more what you're talking about of like providing direct support for like projects, but yeah. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I mean, I see support administrative capacity, that's at the state level,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not officials, like you need to need more money to, it's at the local or the state level.
Yeah.
So I think the mayor's right on there. It's additional administrative or money for administration for the departments, but as opposed to project specific money.
Thank
Again,
you.
both probably equally important. It's a matter of what spot in the.
Yeah.
So do you want to put more funding, and ideally you need money in all of those areas, right?
Yeah.
Pick one or the others.
Vote?
I wasn't finished.
Oh,
I definitely am leaning towards resource programs for energy efficiency planning and project development, although I would say it's probably lower on the list, but I do think it's very important to do, to highlight funding and coordination for shelter and homeless response. In light of, my previous, committee reports, the advisory board, and just knowing that like we don't have enough funding to keep shelters open past March of next year. That's going to be very problematic. And even though we don't necessarily see homelessness in Philomath the same way, if like it looks different somehow and we don't quite know what that looks like. There will still be cascading effects with our service providers and like PCS will, I'm sure, be seeing effects from that.
Yep.
So I think we're adding any on that the council members want to add on. So did you want to, let me back up from the homelessness one. Did you want to add any of the ones from page 27? Is that what I was hearing?
No, I think that would probably
So on those, but you want to do the
housing.
housing?
Shelter and
Because
response. Thing
The
in
very
coordination
first
for.
one under housing.
Response. There we go, yeah.
funding and coordination for shelter and homeless response.
I guess the last thing I'll say just before we dive in on ranking is all indicators are that the 2027 session will be very challenging budget-wise. So I think I just keep that in mind maybe as we're doing this. And I don't think everything we should submit should be like funding for infrastructure, funding for homeless shelters, funding for transportation, funding for emergency, because then that's not going to happen. I think it would be good to have a few things that we put on here that are like free, you know, like the, I don't know, the,
Meetings.
yeah, like public meetings or like land use, you know, like things that are just sort of changing, but aren't investing a ton of money. Not to say we shouldn't advocate for investing money. It just, you know, I think there won't be a lot of money to invest in 2027, just with like Medicaid cuts and everything. It's looking pretty rough. So that's just my pitch on that. Is I think we should make sure we have some policy only things in there. Yeah.
I have been a strong advocate for helping the homeless for the last several years. And I'm frustrated because it seems like we're spending more money studying the problem than we are fixing anything or doing anything about it. I think if we had spent the same amount of money that we did studying, we'd have some maybe solutions by now. So that's where I mean, if they could promise that it would help, that they're actually gonna do something, but if we're just gonna study it somewhere, I think
That's not what
nothing to do with it.
That's not what, it would go towards the coordinated homeless response office that I had talked about before. Sorry, I wasn't your expression. I was like, wait, hold on, did I misread something? And so there was the phase 1 and phase 2 of kind of this funding package from one of the past housing bills. And the first phase was getting the program on board to provide the shelter. We're in phase 2 now, which is where we're like supposed to be like maintaining at least the amount of shelter beds available. We need to increase them, but we can't because we have less funding. And so that's why there's this, it's solely operational costs. Like there's no, I'm unaware of any study that the housing, I will one day remember that acronym.
Hope, the whole thing.
CRO, CHRO.
I just know they
How many
spent
houses?
time and money building some temporary or small houses across from Papa's, and they found out that it was not legal or they had to close them down. And they opened a hotel, and I don't know if that's still even open south of town. And there was a lot of thoughts, but I just don't think we've seen anything very successful. Anyway, that's just my, okay.
I think we should probably, just for time,
Yeah.
just sort of have people share their rankings. I don't know, do we want to just like, because we don't have little dots to put on a sign, want to just kind of go down like the list one by one, or go down each counselor and just kind of share like Counselor Salsa did? I think that, are people comfortable with that? Okay,
Well, let's first, are we listing in order of our priorities? Is that what
sure.
you're asking?
Is that,
And so
or no, it might be easier if you just say the 5 you care about and kind of see which one gets the most.
Common one for sure.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, I just thought that's gonna be a little more complicated to keep track of.
Or we could start with the first one. Is anybody in favor of the first one as one of their five? Like everybody on their system, everybody pick five. And then when we get to the first one, just let us know if that's one of your top five and we'll just put initials next to it and work our way down. So we can go council by council, council member by council member, or we can go item by item. However you like to.
Council by council.
I can keep track of counselor by counselor.
Okay.
So who's going first?
I didn't come with a list, but as you read yours, those all resonated with me, so.
Look at that.
Pop out.
Yeah.
What are yours?
Councilor Sauls, could you give us yours again then?
Can you remind us what yours were?
Oh,
First.
yeah, infrastructure funding, Administrative Procedures Act reform, transportation package, invest in community energy resilience, disaster planning, and full funding and streamlining for housing production, which I kind of got from the homeless thing, sort of,
Okay.
again, kind of tucked up inside of that too.
Is that the same one?
No.
What page is
Some
it?
of these are sort of cross things, but
Yeah, okay,
we kind of build a little.
sure.
Okay,
That was
so
number 4, was your last one. Full funding and streaming for housing.
Yeah, but number 4 on the list, that was the last one you were talking about? This full funding and streamlining for housing production?
Infrastructure funding.
yeah,
I'm talking about, yep. Diane, this is on the memo staff.
I'm looking at page 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, page 16. Page 16 is the list, and that's where. Got it. Okay, Sven, you're duplicating those.
Okay, gotcha. Counselor Andrade, are you ready?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Crocker, are you ready?
page again. Then I turn page. So. Okay, the first one is development of sustainable telecom and broadband, so that's number, that doesn't.
Number 11. On my list, it's number 11.
Well, what is this?
It's the first, well, it's the first one I added to the list of 10.
11,
And then
okay.
I've got public meetings law of clarity as my number 12.
Water, wastewater is number 2 for me. Water, so that's number 10.
What?
Support municipal use of tech. So that's number 2. Energy. Oh, that's for the emergency energies.
Oh, community energy resilience.
Yeah,
disaster.
where is
Okay,
that?
gotcha.
Number
Anywhere?
6.
That's number 6, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. One is energy efficient planning and project development, renewable energy. And is that even in there? Probably which one?
Added those.
It's on page 27, the second one down. Renewable energy.
Okay, we'll add that as number 13.
Well, what's number 12 then?
The public meetings law.
Clarity.
Okay, Counselor Nielsen.
Number, my first choice is the infrastructure funding, number 10. My second choice is number 6, invest in community and disaster planning. My next one is number 3, Administrative Procedures Act reform. Oh wait, can I switch? I made a mistake. My number 3 is public meeting. I think I want to do that. Number 3 is public meeting law clarity. I think you said that was number 12.
Yep.
Then number 4 would be the Administrative Procedures Act. And then my last but not least would be number 2, support responsible municipal use of technology.
Right.
I'm only giving 1 point.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going back.
Councilor Andrade, are you ready?
No pressure.
Well,
Almost.
very cute.
You ready?
Can, yeah.
I,
You can say no. That is an answer.
part of it is like, I didn't like actually rank them. I like to think.
It's okay. You don't, I mean, you don't have to rank them. You just list 5 that you like. They don't. I kind of want to, we're still gonna like vote on the final 5 team. Here. We're just trying to figure out what we should say the final 5 should be. Okay. It's not on this list. We're at, it's,
And this isn't in any order.
Yeah.
Because resilience and disaster planning, public meeting laws.
Where's the resilience?
That's number 6.
6.
Thank you very much.
Emergency communication system resources
Gotcha.
and,
Numbers that.
yeah, sorry, it's not on the.
Well, yeah, community emergency communication system, number 8.
Number 8.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it is number 8, sorry.
And then, responsible municipal use of technology.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna do meetings law clarity, shockingly. And then I'll do infrastructure funding. And then I'm gonna do maintain local control of safe modern right of way. And
Which one was that?
that's number
Number
1.
Sorry, thank you.
And then I'll do Administrative Procedures Act and and then I'll do housing production, the full funding and streamlining for housing production.
Which
So
one is that one?
let's see.
That is number
Housing projection.
4.
Number 4.
If my math is right, and I don't know what yours is, let's see, we have,
We have 6
yeah,
to recommend.
I think so. So wait, let me just make sure.
We
that-
can push it down.
Let me just make sure we all have the same, so that on mine, and either of you chime in if you don't think I'm right. And this is not in order of like preference, this is just going down the list. We have support responsible municipal use of technology. We have Administrative Procedures Act reform, number 3. We have full funding and streamlining for housing production, number 4. We have invest in community energy resilience disaster planning, number 6. We have infrastructure funding, number 10. And then public meetings law clarity, number 12. Does that seem right? Okay. Is there,
How many votes were there for number 12?
number 12, I had 3.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, for public meeting, I have 3 as well.
Okay. So that we only need to get rid of 1. What, I guess just, so the ones that had the most votes were infrastructure funding, yeah, and community energy resilience disaster planning. So I feel like we'll plan to keep those. The ones with the least votes, it was tied between number 2, municipal use of technology, number 4, funding and streamlining for housing production, and number 12, the public meetings law clarity. I would advocate for, well, I want to review the responsible use of technology one. I guess my question with that one is this something that we need legislative action for? Like, is there anything statutorily prohibiting us from being responsible right now? Because I feel like that's always a lens to view these things through, is like, it might be a good idea, but is it something we can just do? Or do we need the legislature to do it? So I don't know. And then let me check the full funding instrument for housing protection again. So yeah, I guess maybe I would advocate for not doing the municipal use of technology, just because it also feels like the least robust of the three, just from looking through the packet.
I'll happily remove my vote.
Okay. Is there opposition to removing that one and keeping housing production and public meetings law?
I think there's some safety issues with not doing the technology one, with the AI and all the other things. I think it is part of our world now, and so I'm advocating for that.
Okay,
But I'm not clear on the public meeting law, so.
okay. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. So I hear one, maybe dissent on getting rid of AI. Is everyone else okay with it? Okay, then I guess I'll move to submit as Philomath's 5 priorities for the LOC legislative priorities to be Administrative Procedures Act reform, full funding and streamlining for housing production, invest in community energy resilience, disaster planning, infrastructure funding, and public meetings law clarity.
Second.
Okay, been moved and moved by Mayor McMorran, seconded by Councilor Salsa to approve the aforementioned 5 policies. Not necessarily do we have to put them in an order? Or we just, okay, great. As our priorities to the LOC for the 2027 session. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. All right. Got through our first thing. Next up, we have the facade grant program revamp on page 37. This is another Chris Workman special, but everything's right. You're the only one here. And I'll let Chris walk through this. It's basically, it's similar to what we've been doing, just some changing of the way we determine the awardees and give out grants.
Yeah, so state the memo that, we started this a few years ago, and very quickly, the original intent, I said the memo was to try to get multiple requests come at the same time, so we could pick the top 3 of the 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 applications we got. So we would score all of them individually, and the highest scores would get funded. What I found very quickly is that when business owners, property owners are ready to go, they're ready to go, and they don't have time to wait 8 months for the next round to start. And so I've kind of been leaning this way for a while, kind of seeing how it's going to play out, and it's continued to play out as I supposed it would, which is when business owners are ready to go, they're ready to go, and they don't have time to wait for a program. So either forego the program altogether, or they, wait on the program coming around again, and when it does come around, then they're not ready because something else has happened. They found something else to spend their money on or whatever. So the revamp essentially is to make it a rolling program so they can apply at any time. And instead of taking the highest scoring projects, the top 3, which we've never really done because we've never gotten more than 3 at a time, we would just have a minimum threshold. And if you meet that score, i.e. you meet the minimum criteria for the program, then you would qualify, you'd get your approval letter, and you'd have your 2 years to go ahead and take care of your project. So we do have somewhat limited funds there. We've only actually funded 2 projects, although we've got 2 others were awarded. I could have put the memo, one's backed out, but the other is ready to go right now, Even Flow Plumbing. So they were one of the original approvals. It's just taken them a couple years to be ready. Now they're ready. So we're going to ask for an extension for them beyond the 2 years. Hopefully the council's okay with that. And then we've got a few others in the pipeline that are looking to go. So I think the program is good. It's working. The combination of the facade improvements and the new buildings we're seeing is starting to take hold. So definitely want to keep the program going. Very positive for the ones that are using it. We're just trying to revamp it and make it a little bit easier so that other businesses and property owners can take advantage of it. The review committee is working well. Rich has been serving as the council position to look at them. We also have one planning commissioner. We've got the planner. And then also Chamber of Commerce Director has been helping us out and looking at them as well. So pretty good tool to kind of look at it, make sure it makes sense. We have switched our architect that's working with us to sit down, meet with the property owners, to help incorporate some of the Timber Town elements into their ideas and their design. That seems to be working okay, and I think will continue to work well. So no changes in the program, other kind of the timeliness of it. So that's kind of ask number 2. And the first ask, as I mentioned, is if we can extend Even Flow Plumbing's application deadline out a couple of, not their application deadline, their completion deadline a couple of months. They're ready to go this summer, but we were concerned about them finishing before the end of, end of September? Or I forget what the date was. September 19th would be kind of close. We're just bumping out a couple more months for them. So those are 2 requests. There's recommended motions on the back of page 2. The commercial building facade grant program and track changes versions there. That's approved by the council tonight. We'll get that updated, tweak the application from its top score to minimum score criteria, and we'll continue to process it. Any questions I can answer?
Councilor Crocker?
It says, preference will be given, location between 10th Street and 16th Street. Have we had any applications outside of that?
One that withdrew was just beyond that, past west of 10th Street. So they were awarded and then withdrew.
I know I've gotten a question from a business owner outside of that area.
I just feel like those all are, it reflects on us. I don't know why we limit it. If there's an earnest request outside of that area, I would be in support of that.
I think it's a good catch. It's probably a line that we could remove before we're kind of comparing and giving additional points against another property. If one was inside of that area and one was outside, we'd give that. But if we're just having a minimum bar, that's a line we'll just strike. So that's a good recommendation, and I'll just strike that line.
Because we're not using urban funding.
No, this is community support funding that's coming from the city.
I am totally in favor. I appreciate the work you put into this. I apologize I didn't flag this for you earlier, but as I was reviewing this, I'm also the liaison to the Public Art Committee. There was a discussion a little bit in the Public Art Committee. I don't think we formally took a position on it, but because we had also gotten a question about whether the facade grant program could be used if a business owner wanted to like add public art to their building, to like have a mural or put some sort of, something on the outside. And I thought that kind of made sense, but then I had not done a lot with it because we hadn't talked about this. But since we're talking about it tonight, I guess I think, in reading the eligible projects, I think you could already make some like exterior painting, decorative details. I think that is somewhat already covered in there. I just wanted to kind of ask the council, like, do we want to add like specifically like exterior painting and, public facing art or something like that? Or do we feel comfortable that it's already in there, or do we not want that? I just wanted to kind of run that past you all because that question came to the Public Art Committee, and obviously the Public Art Committee is not in charge of this program, but.
So is there anything that art as a facade?
I think that's part of what we're asking you all. Like, what is the intent of the council?
Because the facade by definition is,
Yeah.
what it is you're gonna put on the
Yeah.
outside, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to see
Whether that happens to be
extended.
art.
I wouldn't want to see it extended to something outside of the facade, right? Like something on the sidewalk or something like that.
That's
The
my,
intent is to be a building improvement, but as long as it's within that improvement, I think there's quite a bit of leeway there.
Yes, Councilor Cobb.
I go to Dallas, Oregon quite a bit, and they have several murals on walls of buildings, and they're very well done. They're historical in nature. I would, this is probably not I would like to have some discretion on approving the artwork, because otherwise we could have just anything thrown up there. And do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess, we already have a review committee for the program.
Well, so are you gonna review this then, is what I'm saying?
Well, I
if
mean,
it's a
this,
mural.
this has a review committee.
So right now, murals aren't addressed in our development code. There are some interpretations, a mural is like a sign, and so you'd have to get a sign permit, because in some ways, that's kind of what a mural is, right? It's not the side of your building that's painted green. So some cities handle murals under their sign permit, which just goes under type A review process, which just goes through staff. And we're gonna look for things that are gonna be obscene or, not necessarily in the public interest, but not good for, public view. And so that's it, though. I mean, there is no other review of a mural if somebody wanted to put a mural on their building.
Well, I was asking if they wanted to put a mural, would they have to show you the planned mural design?
Oh, yeah.
Or can they just put it up after they get their building, part of their building done? I could see nature, I could see timber, a beautiful nature scene or something. But, I think there are limits to what we would like to have on the building.
They would need to submit it as part of a sign permit.
Okay.
And then I review those and I would either approve it or deny it. And then if I deny it, it can be appealed to the city council.
Is that part of our code, so that wouldn't be a
It's in the
surprise to anyone?
It doesn't specifically say murals are signs, but that's how most cities review mural applications, unless they've got a public art committee that requires, any type of mural, side building, whatever, to go through that committee. In that case, they would still do a sign permit, but they have to go through this first committee, get the approval first, and then they would submit their sign permit. Which I love because it gives me more cover, but it's also one more layer of bureaucracy that some people don't care for.
And I guess I'll just say, I think it makes sense to make sure there's nothing like, obscene or, anything like that. But I also wouldn't want the city to be policing art or sort of, dictating free expression that way, as long as it's not like,
Have to do with Philomath or timber and our area, developing our area, the college, something. To me, that makes sense. But if it's abstract.
like I just wonder if
Mayor, are you looking for more specific language that would specify that murals would be allowed?
well, I guess I'm just wondering if, based on this conversation, if we should add a line of like something like funds may be used for murals or exterior art that aligns with the sort of Timber Town theme or something. I think that's
Yeah. My only pause or slight reservation to that is that typically we think of facades, we think of like street facing forward, and typically when we think of murals, we think of like a side of a building off of an alley, not necessarily like the front of the building with a mural on it, is a lot less common. And this program is really specific about the street view of the building that people driving by are looking at in that facade. So I definitely want people to start targeting this program just for the murals. But if part of the project included the facade improvement and a mural or something like that, then it works. But I mean, maybe it's just under number 4, the exterior painting, including artistic mural or something like that.
Yeah.
Hit the hat to it a little bit.
Or perhaps like, like whatever other main, I don't know, words, wow. Whatever improvements are being made, then also add can include, so that it's not solely the mural that you're, if that's what you're worried about. Like when you say that something can be included, as opposed to it being its own option. Does that make sense?
What if we had under number 2, what would we add in the last line? Downspouts, awnings, decorative details, and art, lighting, etc.
Yeah,
And then number 4, we could say exterior painting, semicolon, murals.
Or even just a tree thing for them. I would love that.
Okay.
I think I'm
I think that's a
beautiful.
good compromise.
Yeah, okay, so do we need a motion for that?
No.
Okay, so we're adding decorative details, art, lighting, design,
Decorative details and art,
okay.
comma, lighting, comma, et cetera,
And then for line 36, we're saying like exterior painting,
semicolon, murals.
or like, I'm just wondering for Councilor Crocker's tree, do we say like exterior painting including artistic or
Art already, do we know? When I think art, when you put art in number 2, it's exterior. If I think art, exterior art on a building, I would kind of assume it would be mural, wouldn't you? I mean, I would.
I mean, I feel like there's other, yeah, like you could affix a, you know,
Like-
metal sculpture to the front of a building or something too. I don't know, but yeah.
I'm thinking of like the Rio and Sweet Home. They've got like a Spider-Man and a something else on the front of it. They're murals. It's like a
That's
movie
true.
theater, but they've got
Yeah,
cool, I don't know if that's murals, but really cool
Yeah.
paintings of like movie characters on the front and the sides of the building that make the building kind of pop off and promote obviously what it is, but it's kind of, it's a cool addition to the building. Definitely adds interest. Don't know that it adds Timber Town.
Spider-Man.
That's what Councilor Crocker's afraid
But
of.
it's-
Yes, Councilor,
I was
please.
just wondering how the city looked at what Green Heron did, the art studio or pottery studio.
Oh, yeah.
That painting, would that fit into this?
So, yeah, so they're actually one of our more recent award recipients. They're finalizing their application as they're doing their work, but they've got approval on the pre. So we'll probably do a 50-50 match with them. It's going to be nowhere near $10,000 because it's just the paint job. So she did submit what the painting was going to look like, the paint job was going to look like. That did go through and get looked at, and so yeah, that'll be covered. Like I said, I don't know what we're trying to look at an art gallery and try to improve, what's approvable and what's not
Yeah,
approvable.
no.
It's like
And
it's a paint job.
yeah, I'm not really trying to change anything here. It was just since the Public Art Committee got that question, I just thought it might be worth clarifying in here. So when people read this, they don't have to keep coming to us asking if that's allowed or not. It's like, oh, yeah, it says the word art in here. Sounds good. Yeah. Okay, so are we all happy then with on line 34 adding and art? And then that being the only change? Okay.
Yep.
Take that as consensus, Madam Recorder. Any other thought? Oh, yes, please. No, I think we're,
I have two motions.
okay, one at a time.
First motion, I move to authorize the city manager to extend Even Flow Plumbing deadline to complete their project from September 19th, 2026 to November 19th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Salsa, seconded by Counselor Crocker to authorize the city manager to extend Even Flow Plumbing's deadline to complete their project from September 19th, 2026 to November 19th, 2026. Is there any discussion on that motion? I'm excited to see it. Seeing no further discussion, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. That motion is passed unanimously. And I hear perhaps Counselor Salsa would like to make another motion.
I move to authorize city manager to revamp the commercial building facade grant program as described in the program overview as amended.
Perfect. Is that a second? Yes. Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Salsa, seconded by Counselor Caseman to authorize the city manager to revamp the commercial building facade grant program as described and amended in the program overview. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. That motion is also passed unanimously. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Chris, for being thoughtful about that and making sure it's working for folks.
Yeah, thank you for continuing to support the program.
Yeah.
Actually, it's great.
It's a fun one. Okay, next up, we have our extension and assignment of contract for city planner services. This is pretty simple. We're retaining our existing contracted planner for 3 more years.
Yep.
And with some just slight increases to her rate every year, which is probably similar to what she would get if she were a city employee who got step increases. So, and I don't know if it's mentioned in there. I asked Chris before the meeting, just for the record, her current rate is $90 an hour. So the increase to 93 and 96 and 100, you can kind of, yeah, it's not like we're boosting her from $50 an hour to $93 an hour. And I'll just say, in case there's anyone listening or anything, it's similar to our like attorney fees where it sounds like a lot of money for an hourly wage, but since she's contracted, like we're not paying health insurance or retirement or anything like that. So that's all encompassing of pay plus benefits in a way that it isn't for like an employee's hourly wage. Anything to add to that, Chris?
I'll just say Laura's doing an excellent job for us. We've got a planning commission meeting on Monday. She has very skillfully put together a timetable for implementation of the new development code. Our residential code audit is all but complete by COG. So she's been coordinating efforts with the planner from the COG, which means I haven't had to been coordinating those efforts, which has been great. She's really just taken the lead on that project as a whole, including her portion specifically, which is all the admin stuff, as well as the commercial and industrial redevelopment codes or development codes. So she's doing a great job for us, very skilled. I would say I'd love to have you at the meeting Monday, but don't come because you'll be seeing some of those topics later. But definitely look at the packet. I mean, you'll see the level of quality that we're getting from her as a professional planner is terrific. It's really, really nice and taking a lot of load off of me having to oversee like day-to-day operations. She's coordinating well with Leilani on building permits. She is coordinating all the pre-application meetings with fire and public works and engineering. She's really, like I said, helping really run that department now, which is a role that I've taken since I've gotten here up until her being able to be here. So I'm really pleased with the amount of time and energy that she's put into making Philomath planning better.
Yeah.
And doing great work for us. So I fully recommend this. I'd really be sad to do anything different at this point. So she's doing great.
Councilor Casey?
Yes, on the hourly rates, just to make sure it was deliberate. You said her current hourly rate is 90, 93, 96, and then 100. That last one, was that deliberate with the $4 increase instead of the 3 pattern?
It was what she had asked for,
Okay.
and a $3 an hour increase from now is like right at 3%. Next year will be less than 3% because it's going from 396, so it'll be less than less again. So getting the 4 gets her back to almost kind of 3%.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just want to make sure it was deliberate with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to use rounded numbers on the math to not go out to the nickels and dimes here, but yeah.
Yes, Councilor Casey.
In section 3, maximum compensation.
Yeah.
Being with all that she's doing, practicality speaking, is the limit on 60,000 adequate for her to do the hourly work that she's required? What I'm asking is that adequate for the new contract to
Yes.
do all that she's been required to do with that $60,000 maximum?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Just for the record, that is the same as her current
Right.
hourly. So we are spending the same amount of money. She's just getting paid a little more per hour.
And Vision will use her less hours going forward. She won't be doing all of this stuff she's doing for us now, so.
Perfect. That's why I was just wondering if that was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just echo a little bit of what Chris said, and I'm not the city manager, so I don't deal with staff day to day, but like when I'm at the farmer's market or I'm talking to people, I have gotten a ton of compliments about Laura's work and from people who maybe hate the city and think that we're all horrible, corrupt people, but that Laura, she's good. You know, she responded to my email, she was really helpful. And so I just really, that means something that, people who otherwise have very negative things to say are really appreciative that she has been so professional and responsive and helped them through their concerns or help them through their application or whatever. I mean, it means a lot to me, and I know, especially she came off of a period of some instability with planning that I think was really frustrating to people. And so I think I've just heard a lot of really positive things about having that stability and professionalism and digging through some of those backlogs. And I think that's been really positive for the city. So
And I'd like to second that. I've also received several comments about our being really timely in
Yeah,
the responses and
yeah,
really doing a professional job, and that's really good to hear. And
Yeah.
the city look much better as far as what we're able to accomplish, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Counselor Caseman?
With those glowing remarks, are you entertaining a motion?
I sure am.
I move to authorize, and I can't do it with kind of inflection that Councilor.
You got it.
I move to authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 1 for planning services with Pathfinder Land Use Consulting LLC.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Caseman, seconded by Counselor Nielsen, to authorize the city manager to execute amendment number 1 for planning services with Pathfinder Land Use Consulting LLC. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have the Landmark Drive Assessment lien. Which is, thank you. Ooh, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I'm not even gonna attempt to, this is a little more above my pay grade, so I'm gonna turn this over to Chris.
Yeah, so I've really had a chance to kind of go through this, and I'll just briefly go through it and then answer questions. I'm going to ignore what's written here and just kind of tell you with my hands, because that's how I talk. Or I do better talking using my hands. So we approved the ordinance for the Landmark Improvement District's assessments, right? We had properties, we did the assessments early before construction, we did construction, and then at the end of construction, looked and we had to tweak the assessments a little bit based on actual construction cost. One of the properties was removed, you remember. One of the other tweaks that we made that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about is that one of the properties, the large property at the north end of Landmark Drive, from the time we started the LID till we were finished, had split into 3 different properties, and part of that property became the new north end of Landmark Drive, public right of way. And so when we were doing the assessment, it was like, okay, well, how do we do that? Do we put out, it's 3 separate tax lots plus this 4th property. So in the assessment and the ordinance, we correctly identified the acreage of each of those 4 properties, I'll call them, even though one's a right of way. And because it's by acreage, so we calculated the acreage of each one, did the rate, and we figured out each of the 4 assessments and what they need to be, with the thought that we'll put it on there, we'll get it approved. If they make the payment, it's a payment for all 4 of those, we're good. So all of it was going great until the property owner decided that, yes, we want to pay, we understand these assessments are fair, no problems with any of that. They're not have any problem with paying the assessment, but they'd like to do it in installments, which is an option that we give them. And in fact, it's what most are doing, is making payments over time. In order to make payments over time, we need to put a lien on each of the properties to secure that payment, make sure that it's coming in. Well, we can't put a lien on a public right of way, right? There's no legal entity there to put the lien against. So the quick fix from staff was, well, we'll just put that assessment of the right of way onto the parent parcel, which is where the 2 buildings have been built. It's got the most equity there. You know, the most value is in that property, that parent parcel. The 2 other parcels are empty, they're vacant. They may develop them in the future, they might sell them, we don't know. So we'll just take that right away, we'll just move it over there. Let's run that to the council, make sure they're good with it, and all good. In preparing that, talking with the property owner about, this is what happened, here's our plan to go to the council, move this assessment from right away to the parent parcel. They said, can we just move all of them over to the parent parcel? These other 2 are floating here too. Can we just take all 3 of the assessments plus the parent parcels? So we just put them all in one lien on the one property. That way we don't have liens on all the other 2 properties. We don't have to worry about lien on the right of way. So it'll be one lien, one property, one assessment. The 4 assessments added up together, done. I don't know, we'll ask, right? Like, let's go to the city council and let's see what they want to do. That's the premise. Any questions on premise? Because then we can talk dollars and cents a little bit. Kind of any questions on how we got here?
Counselor Carter.
Don't these properties have different owners?
No, all 3 are still owned by the same company. So Highway 20 Development LLC, I think it is, or Highway 20 Industrial Park LLC, still owns the 2 lots. They own the parent parcel, and the right of way, nobody owns. It's now public right of way. The city has its public right of way.
Just for the record, that's on page 69 in the packet. It lists the 4 lots and the owner.
Current owner, yeah.
And you can see how it got split up there. Initially, the one at the top had the full $412 estimated assessment. And then that got, and the other ones didn't do anything because those properties didn't exist yet. And then that got split out.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
There's enough value, according to this, there's enough value in that one property to warrant the
Sure, we don't know, I didn't pull a title report, so I don't know, I'm sure there's a construction loan there still.
right.
That they're making payments on for the primary building. There's probably a second construction loan for the second building that they built, that they have good tenants in, and they're collecting rent and lease and stuff. But I don't know how many other
Right.
encumbrances are on the property already. At least two, I would assume. There's at least two construction loans there, and I don't know what else. But there's value in the property, and again, currently, the owners are terrific. I have full faith that they'll make their payments, won't have problems, but everything always looks good until it's not, right? And when it's not so good, then all of a sudden you go back to what liens do we have in place and how do we get our money, right? So, I mean, I'm looking at it, and it's really nothing to do with the ownership. I think very highly of the owners of this property. They've been great to Philomath. They're adding jobs. They're doing all the things we want them to do. In fact, I'm the one that kind of pointed them to those properties. I knew they were looking for a place in town. I said, look, if you guys bought this 10 acres, you could build your lot, divide it off, sell this other stuff, and in a matter of years, you'd have your stuff all paid for, right? You just have to play the developer game a little bit. So you spend a little bit more money, but in a few years, you could be sitting really good. And they did it, right? It's easy for me to plan and spend other people's money. They did it. And so they've really, commendable that they've built up this north industrial area of town that was sitting there for 20 years, unpurchased, undeveloped, right? So full kudos to them. Nothing against them at all. I don't know if the city really gets any benefit out of putting all of the lien on just the one property. If it stays spread out between the three, I think the right-of-way one we definitely need to do. So that one, to me, we kind of need to put at least the right-of-way value over there, the $43,000 and change. So I think that we need to do. The right-of-way is public right-of-way. It's not city property, but it's public property and the city maintains it, right? So that's the acreage there, and prior to development, it was their land, and so they are responsible for that portion of the assessment still.
And is that the last one?
Yeah, the 43.
Yeah.
Or 48, yeah, sorry. So to me, that makes sense. The other two, if we want to be nice, we can move it, but there's really no benefit to the city to moving it. It's one lien instead of three. But those other two liens kind of help diversify, if you will, where the money's owed. The other benefit to the city of having on the others, if those other two properties would sell, that lien would become due at the time of the sell, so we'd get our money a little bit early, right? So advantage to them to not have a lien on theirs, that they can sell the property and not have to fork out the $128,000 or the $135,000 at the time of sell to pay the lien off, because that lien money would still be on the primary property. Just benefit to them? No, it's benefit to the city too, because now we get properties that are developing instead of just sitting there with a lien on it, making it so they can't sell the property, right? So is there benefit to the city? Is there negative to the city? I honestly think it's a pretty good wash. They have been good, good businesses in town. I really don't have any heartache over all of the assessment going onto the one property because of the current ownership and because we still have a lien there. It's still a legal lien. I don't believe that they're up to their eyeballs in other debts and other liens on the property. I'm very comfortable with that. At the same time, the more prudent route would be to just keep those other two assessments on the other two properties, and kind of keep them a little bit more spread out. But I'm really comfortable either way. It's really council discretion on this way. I can give you my honest opinion if you push me for it, but really I'm comfortable either direction the council wants to go. I want to go where you're comfortable with this lead.
On that note, Councilor.
I guess I'm not quite clear, like, what is the benefit to the property owner? Like, are they intending to sell and not have to worry about including the lien, or like?
Yeah, so they're paying property taxes on those two lots. I don't think they intend to just hang on to two lots forever. I believe, they just added their second building last year and a half ago, and have got it leased out. So I think they're stretched a little bit now, but I think their full intent is to eventually develop these other properties as well, or to sell them or something. I don't know, they just want to hang on to them forever.
I guess I just don't understand why, is it just an administrative thing of like, it's easier to just make one payment instead of three? Or like what, because it feels like it's like if they're going to have that property, those properties for the foreseeable future, I don't quite understand the benefit.
Yeah. There's some minimal administrative benefit to having one lien on one property. I think the bigger benefit to them, and I don't want to necessarily speak for them because they've not really told me their reasoning other than they just said, we just put all of the assessments on the one property.
Sorry, when you say one lien on property, as in mining,
All 4 assessments, one lien on the one.
so then it's one lien with the whole, okay, I see, as opposed to that was where I was confused. I was thinking it was like Milton, the SDC deferment.
Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah, so don't think of that as multiple liens. Think of it as we would take all 4 assessments. We would total that amount, which is well, it's not quite the 412, 225. I think I did the number somewhere else in here. Maybe I did it. The number changed a little bit from the 412, 225, just because we took the other property out of totals. But it's whatever the total of those 4 on the right column there added up. So it would be one lien for that dollar amount on either one property, or it would be one lien on the main property for the 48 plus the 115, which is the 163, 117 on the bottom page 69. So it'd be one lien on the parent property for that amount, and the other 2 properties listed would be that amount. So 3 liens, 3 properties. Yeah.
That's okay. That's understood.
Because, and I don't even know if this is possible, but just brainstorming, if we did 3 liens on the 3 parcels, and then if they decided to sell at some point, could we do something in the moment if we elected to do so, then transfer it to the parent parcel? You give some control.
The city's recent experience with that is that that's frowned upon.
Is it? Okay, that's
I mean, it's we're having some legal hiccups, I would say, or challenges, minor challenges with the SDCs. SDCs is a little bit different though, because SDCs are property specific. These are a little tricky because the assessment is also property specific. So to get into the weeds a little bit, if we were to put all of the assessments together and put them on the one property, we would have an additional form for the owner to sign. It's a liability waiver that essentially recognizes that per the owner's request, the city's combining assessments, put on their property. This isn't a taking, that the city's like taking value from their property. The city's not forcing this on them. So our legal team has put together a very nice legal disclosure that makes it very, very clear to anybody who looks at the title of that property that the 4 assessments assigned to that one property was the choice of the owner, and it's going to be held in effect. So I'm confident that we can get there legally and be protected and be fine, even more so than the SDC liens, which are a little more regulated with some state law, more so than like assessment liens. So we can get there, legal can get us there. It's really just diversified out over the 3 or put it all on one and potentially help the owners develop those other 2 properties maybe a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit easier, however we want to. But I would recommend doing it now, not waiting until some future date.
Having never personally purchased industrial properties before, and I
Welcome to the club.
yeah, so I don't know if you know the answer,
Good
but like I'm just curious, I guess, like how much of an impediment or red flag or something it is to see a lot with a $130,000 like if I'm looking to buy that lot, do I care that there's a $130,000 lien on it if the price is reduced by $130,000?
When you're buying the property, no, but if you're selling the property, it impacts your sell price, right? So
right.
your equity you're going to collect when you sell the property is going to be $128,000 less.
Right.
Then if that $128,000 was assessed on your primary property and you were making payments on that over time,
Yeah.
right? So it's really about cash in hand.
Upfront or
But the reality is, if they sell that property, they're going to do one of 3 things. They're going to pocket that money and go to Cancun, which is great. I'd recommend it. Or 2, they're going to pay off the asset, the assessment on the primary one. They're going to put that money towards their debt, or they're going to put that money towards investment or development of one of their properties. So you know, really, we only lose in that first scenario, but it's their property and their profit, right? So, and we're still getting our payment, and honestly, we're still collecting our 5% interest on the outstanding assessment, right? So the longer that's on there, the more we keep collecting our 5% on top of it. And, you know, I'd rather have the cash in hand because we can do a lot of money with that $128,000 rather than whatever it is, you know, $30,000 a year for the next however many years. So like I said, it's really, I would feel very different about this if it was a residential property. The fact that this is industrial development property that's still got future development there, I mean, I would lean toward just let's throw them a bone and go ahead and put it all on the one property. It's going to be a legal lien. It's going to be, you know, we're going to be able to hold that up in court all day long. And I believe that there is, I mean, looking at the assessed value, I believe there's value there, probably even greater than what the county assessor is saying is there. So I'm very comfortable doing that. I would lean that way, knowing the ownership, knowing what's there.
These guys have been great neighbors.
But I don't know who the owners are going to be 2 years from now, right? Or 5 years from now. But when that changes, that's the thing, is when the property changes hands, the lien gets paid off and we get paid. So if it's not them that we're dealing with because they've sold, we're going to get paid out when it sells, right? So I just don't have a lot of concern about helping them out if that's what they've requested. There's really just not a big downside to the city.
I'd like to clarify, I wasn't quite sure when you were talking about the signing the form, if you were referring to the Mill Pond or like having them sign an agreement. But yeah, basically, I'd be fine with it as long as we make sure that we're legally have it in writing.
We would do, yeah, in addition to the lien, so we would agree to put all the assessments on one lien, and they would agree to sign liability waiver that makes it very, very clear. And the liability waiver is an agreement between two parties that gets recorded with the property, with the lien. So we would record the lien and the liability waiver both to make it very clear to anybody looking at purchasing the property. If they were to pull a title report, they would see that language and recognize, you know, why is there this $300,000 or, you know, almost $400,000 lien on the property? It's like, oh, it was from assessments from a local improvement district. And honestly, they're gonna look back and say, oh, well, it originally was $412,000 and then it got adjusted slightly. I think it's an easy paper trail to follow. And more likely they're gonna call me and I'm gonna explain it and they'll be like, oh, it makes sense. And then if they're serious about buying industrial property, they'll include that in their, you know, their calculation and they'll move forward or they won't, right?
If you're entertaining a motion. I move to authorize the city manager to assign the right-of-way assessment to tax lot 2500 for a total lien of $163,117, leaving the other two assessments on their current, no,
This is,
sorry.
again, I went back and forth, right? So when I wrote this memo, it was just to do the right-of-way only. That's okay. If you, but you can tweak that and you could just, for simple sake, you could just say to place all four assessments onto the parent parcel, but keep that kind of language and that'll give clear direction.
So I move to authorize the city manager to assign all four parcels,
All for assessment.
all four assessments, right-of-way assessments.
Look at, look at line number 11 up on that
Oh,
page. The number one, city council option number 1.
I was looking at the suggestion.
Yep, that's okay.
I move to authorize the city manager to assign all four assessments for Highway 20 Industrial Park LLC to tax lot 2500 for a total of $426,488. I do too.
Okay. By Councilor Andrade, seconded by Councilor Salsa, to authorize the city manager to assign all four assessments for Highway 20 Industrial Park LLC to tax lot 2500 for a total of $426,488. I really appreciate this conversation. I think this all makes sense. I think I might vote no, just because I like to keep it clean and have them assigned appropriately out to the different tax lots. That being said, I think I would echo the city manager that it's kind of a wash either way. So I get that, and I really do appreciate the business owners, and I totally understand their request. I just think for continuity and consistency's sake, I'll probably not support that motion, but that's just me. So, any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, nay, nay, and the motion passes 5-1. Yeah. Okay, then that's our last item of new business. With that, we can move on to our management report, which is on page 71. Chris, would you like to walk us through anything here?
Not a lot, and have to answer questions.
Okay.
If you want to do liaison reports.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay.
Version, then.
All right, we'll pause on management report and skip ahead to council liaison reports. I know we just shared them at our last meeting since we kind of bumped that back, so I don't know how much new information anyone has, but anyone have anything to volunteer? Councilor Crockett?
PCS had a very successful fundraiser Thursday night. The approximate pay was $12,000 that they might have given for all the generous people that donated things and purchased things. They're still concerned about the parking, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I also went to the fire meeting today, and it was very interesting. In July, they had 86 calls, 24 were fires, and 62 were EMS. They've been pretty busy recently. They had 3 to 4 fireworks fires, which they said is very typical. That's normal, but I had not known how many they have. And so that's an issue. They're not necessarily in support of a ban. I did ask about that. And
Did they say were those in city limits or were they outside of city limits?
they did not tell me.
Do you know? Okay.
But they're very typical that they don't happen on the 4th of July.
Okay.
They either happen before or after.
Okay, interesting. Sorry, Councilor Crockett.
Lightning struck a tree for one.
Oh.
That's interesting. But in other news, they are working with Benton County Commissioner Shepherd to work on tightening up the language for the different fire districts within the county and who's got which responsibility. So that's probably all I have to report.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Anyone else? Yeah, Councilor Andrade?
Yeah, the Benton County Historical Society had a meeting last week, and they shared about the current Philomath exhibits. There's the Centuries of Celebration with the 250th celebration of the country, and there's an interactive part to it. So if you haven't seen it yet, I haven't been yet. But I guess it's been really popular, and so that's really cool to hear the community, participating in that. And then what just opened up, and I think we had just received an email that also talked about this. The Oregon's Trail of Tears. There's an exhibit where Nolan Streitberger took photos today where there's a notebook chronicling the journey along the Trail of Tears from one of the settlers, and the photographer went to all of those places and took photos of what it looks like today, but using a camera from back then, to kind of give it this really interesting feel. And it noticeably, there's Native Americans have been removed from that exhibit because it just reinforces that story of removing Indigenous people from their homeland. And yeah, I've heard that it's very moving. So highly recommend that. And Brad had an article about it recently. And then the other really cool thing is that they just, so one of the things they're doing to improve accessibility at the museum is that they're turning one of the rooms into a dedicated classroom. It's going to be doing multiple things, allowing there to be a space for like when students come to visit with their school. And then there's going to also be a historically accurate exhibit because when it opened, the Philomath College building opened in 1867, it housed a primary school for the first decade. So the students sat on wooden benches and wrote on slates. It says one of the museum staff had sent me, our new schoolroom will be designed to reflect this type of classroom from 1867. It will include artifacts from the past that can be touched and handled by children today.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then they're also going to be able to have like, the exhibit will touch on the history of education in Oregon. Asking questions like who was writing textbooks, whose voices were left out, what was the purpose of these schools and such. So yeah, super exciting.
Thank you very much. And then I also know you had sent an email to Chris and I about potentially having the council do a tour of the museum.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to talk about that now.
I was speaking with the museum director and he was saying that perhaps we could do a max hour-and-a-half tour before a council meeting, like during a work session, and then potentially presentation afterwards, and that it would cover, it would be like a tag team to kind of point out like all the places that are, proposed renovations for the museum expansion and touching on the history of the building itself, and also extend into the collections because they're really large and there's a lot.
Did she say a timeline for that?
We wanted someone to reach out with potential dates.
Okay. I guess I'm just wondering if we should talk about, we probably will not have a second meeting in August.
Not
So, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if scheduling a tour on the day of a council meeting, I don't know what kinds of
I know.
work sessions you have available, or if it should be like an off day and then have an invited presentation another day.
My guess would be it's probably easiest to do it before a council meeting, just because I'm assuming we're all mostly free those evenings. Yeah. Do you know if we are anticipating having a work session or anything before the September?
On the schedule.
Okay. Are folks available if we wanted to meet like 5:30 or 6 and do a museum tour this will be September 14th?
Probably recommend 5:30.
Yeah.
I can.
We have a,
I'll be somewhere in Idaho.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, we'll bring a little cardboard cutout of you along.
for refugee training on September 22nd, so
Okay.
there's already some extra time.
Okay.
And so I might propose moving the museum to October
Okay.
or.
That would
something,
be-
but That's just a thought.
Oh. Do we have? October 12th, do we observe like Indigenous Peoples' Day or anything as a city? Or would we be meeting that day?
People will be meeting that day.
So then if we wanted to move it to October, it could be October 12th. Do people have a preference? I mean, I hear Councilor Cocker, I think, has a preference for October. Does anyone, should we maybe
Sounds
plan?
fine.
October sounds good for me.
Okay.
Should I send an email or did one
I'll-
of you
I'll
want
coordinate.
to?
Yeah, let's have
Okay.
Chris will do it since it's sort of because
Sounds
we'll also
good.
need to like public notice it if it's all of us, so.
Yeah,
Okay, let's all maybe just pencil in 5:30 on October 12th, unless if you hear otherwise, if there doesn't work for them or
Or we
something.
can just meet at the meeting.
Yeah. Great. Any other council reports? I don't have a lot either since our last meeting. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no. So Chris, anything in the management report?
Yeah, and I know you've gone through this. Let me just do a couple highlights, well, several highlights, if we will, but stop me if I bore you. Two items on the city-owned property that I said I would get back to you this month, and I've punted on. The first bullet point under administration, 14th and Main. We got the RP out. Since I wrote this, we did hear back from one of the two respondents, and they've withdrawn interest. They said we got other big projects they're working on. Gonna move forward. They just don't think they'd be able to give this project the time that it would really need.
Which one?
It was not Hanlon.
Okay, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hanlon is still got some interest, but also has some other things going on the fire, but they've got some partner organizations that they're reaching out to see if there's interest. They were one of the first ones that said they just need a little bit of time to respond. So we'll see if they respond to something, and I'll notify them that the other group's backed out. Maybe that'll pique their interest even more. So anyway, very unfortunate. I was hoping to get proposals in from both of them and have the pick, but I want to get back to that. I'm going to skip down a few bullet points to 20th and Main. We've been negotiating that. Feel like we're there on the offer. Danny would like to come and present that himself in person to the city council. So he's going to make the trip here to talk to us next month. So he'll be there on the 14th and be able to present the purchase agreement, give a little bit of updates on where they're at. I'll look the cat out of the bag a little bit. We're still waiting for state funding to get lined up to where they have money to give to these programs. So it was kind of, let's hurry and get an agreement in place, knowing that we were going to have to get a foot in line. And that's where they are, is they're in line and they're waiting at the state. So we want to get the purchase agreement in place, but then they're still going to be waiting for another probably year or so before they know they're getting funding or not. So I think the council for the decision is going to be, are we okay with that? Or do we cut line and try to find somebody else who's going to have to then get in line for the same funding? I think it kind of makes sense to stay where we're at and just know we're just going to have to be patient. So those are the two city project ones. I'll skip up a couple more to Philomath Visioning 2050. We're kind of starting to get into this next phase of the project, which would be these kind of visioning labs. When most people hear visioning labs, their eyes glaze over, including mine. I don't know exactly what the vision labs are going to entail, and nor do they. We're going to figure that out in the next couple of weeks and start doing some focus group collaboration conversations around the input that we got. So they're working on the information, the mapping as well, the community assessment mapping that they're pulling together, community facility assessment maps. They're pulling that together as well. So that project, don't want to think it's gone away. We're still moving forward on that. We've got recruitment open for a police officer. Our last officer that went all the way through the process didn't get through background check. Really unfortunate. Super awesome candidate. We're really excited about moving them forward, and we got to have the right person. So we're kind of back to searching again. So recruitment's open for a new hire or a lateral. So if you know anybody who wants to be a good officer, send them our way. We'll make special note over 4th of July. Contrary to social media posts recently, 66 traffic stops, 20 citations, 1 arrest. Our officers are very busy on Main Street and Applegate Street, particularly on holidays and everything. They're out there. And I want to give a big kudos to Chief, even though he's not here. The one-liner really doesn't do justice to getting the CJIS security audit passed. That's a big deal. It's a lot of hours throughout the year of making sure everything's organized in the right order. So when the auditors come, says, give me a document that shows me an example of excessive use of force in your policy and how it was applied correctly. They go to the file, they pull it up, they have 3 examples, they put them in front of the auditor, and the auditor says, okay, good, check the box, and they go to the next thing. And they do that over and over and over and over again for several days. So kudos to Chief for passing the audit and maintaining that accreditation. It's big work, and again, one line doesn't justify all the work that goes into that. And primarily, Chief and our secretary there, or the administrative professional there, take care of all that, so. Sean, a heads up on financing for the water treatment plant. We are under construction. We've made 3 payments to our contractor. We're seeing work getting done. I won't go into all the details, but some of the work being done is underground, so you can't see it. Some of it is like literally moving the ground and creating a big hole. You can see that one. Don't drive into it. But moving forward on that, with part of that, as well as getting the financing lined up for the loan portion of that. We've met with Business Oregon as of Friday. No questions asked about the funding for us. It does sound like October 2nd, Mike and I get to drive to Tillamook and do a final presentation about the project and why it needs funding. It's not a competitive process. It's just that we check all the boxes. So that's moving forward on the loan side of things. 3 payments have made, not 2 payments. We've made a payment since this was written. The radar signs are up. Appreciate Mayor McMorrin's post and positive comments. It really does kill me sometimes the need to comment about speed signs. I can get citation and for speeding. You will forever hate speeding in Philomath. But anyway, radar signs up. They're working. I won't take the words out of my mouth, or I don't want to steal your thunder, Mayor, but the mayor said he parked and watched as people saw the signs and tapped their brakes like all day long, right? Like, so
While walking, you could see a lot of people. There's the red lights.
Get those. Was that a grant or was that?
it wasn't a grant, it was street dollars that we paid for it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's priority of the council, and rightly so. It'd been on the list for a couple of years of strategic plan, and last year the council made it a priority and we did it. So, still working on the agreement with ODOT, still waiting for the agreement from ODOT on maintenance, but we'll.
They're up.
So, EV charging station has hit a couple little snags. We're waiting on Pacific Power. We love you, Pacific Power. Help us out. Look for a ribbon cutting once that portion of the project's done. But a lot of good feedback on 11th and 12th Street. In fact, we had a lady just randomly stop in today to City Hall. Nobody ever does this. Am I right? She walks in. Were you here when she came to the office today? The gal that talked about 11th and 12th Street? Okay, she missed it. I don't have anybody to. Yeah.
Legally.
She's in a crossword puzzle. Walked into City Hall this morning, walked right up to Diana, who's in the front there. I was in my office and I heard her say, I just wanted to tell whoever at the city needs to hear it, that the city has never looked better. It looks so amazing. The work you've done on all the streets and the benches and the flower baskets, they're just amazing. It is so beautiful. I'm literally almost going word for word here. Not me. This is so about the time I was going to Chelsea's office and she made eye contact with me and recognized it as Chris. Again, and repeat it. I just wanted to tell you, the city has never looked better. It looks so. I've been a resident here a long, long time. She knew my name. I'm sorry, I don't recognize her name, but just again, how beautiful the city looks. Never looked better. The recent work on 11th, 12th Street is so great. They go to the library often, and they can park there. They can get across easily. Farmers Market's been great. I mean, just on and on and on. I'm like, good. I'm glad you hear that. Guess what? We're going to continue to make improvements on 13th Street, as we say later in the report. Right? We're going to make more improvements and everything else, and we'll keep at it. She goes, well, do. It's really, really looking good. I said, I really appreciate hearing that from you because not everybody agrees with that sentiment. So anyway, kudos to you. Kudos to city. I think there's a lot of good things happen, and residents, by and large, do appreciate it. With all the woes and haws and things that we can do better, there's a lot of really good things that we've done, and residents are seeing it and are appreciating it. So much so that they take time out of their day to stop, park, walk in, and let anybody know, I'm just really happy with the way things are going in the city. So anyway, kudos to us. That was great.
And while you're doing the kudos things, I had 2 neighbors come over and say how much they love the new reader board.
Oh, good.
Teresa, we just love that new reader board. Thank you so much. And
Love it too.
If they love it now, wait till the end of the week or end of next week because it's getting the added signage and it's going to look awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have also gotten some comments from people that don't normally have really wonderful things to say that said, wow, Paloma did it right. It's beautiful. And two different people, two different places told me that, and it's incredible. So that's good.
Counselor.
Just have a quick question. So imagine my surprise as I was walking the other day and there's a cutout now in the middle of Main Street at 20th.
That's on here.
Is that coming?
Page
Is that
73.
features coming?
Yeah.
No, because I thought, how is that supposed to work? Because now,
We've got a meeting, so the ADA arm of ODOT, that's doing all of the ADA ramp improvements that the legislature and courts have mandated they have to do. Every intersection is a crossing, so I'll start there. That's where they're gonna start with me when we meet with them on Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Every intersection is a crossing. Their role is to make the crossings ADA accessible.
Yeah.
What I've learned is that doesn't necessarily mean that they make them safe, just ADA accessible.
no, again, like this.
Some of the crossings that they're making, I have serious concerns about the safety of, i.e. 20th Street, 18th Street, 16th Street, which is less than 200 feet from the corner that you come around after the reader board and you hit the corner and there's a crossing right there. So not very happy, very concerned, et cetera, et cetera. So we're meeting with them on Wednesday to talk through some of that, at the very least, signage, lighting.
But no, exactly.
Rapid flashing beacon, et cetera.
Now you gotta be able to support.
Well,
the
it's
safety.
ironic that we're doing our traffic action safety plan. And before it's even published, we're gonna have 3 new areas of high concern, of unsafe areas, which is like, you know, our top one right now is 17th Street and it has a light overhead and it's striped and has lighting. It's still the number one concern that we have is crossing, and you've just added 3 new ones, completely subpar for safety.
Poor Chris came back from vacation, and the very next morning, Chelsea and I like accosted him in his office so I could excuse.
My bad. I will just say, you know, ODOT has been submitting plans. The renderings of the plans have changed over time. What they showed us months ago is like, here it is, was corners and dots on places. More recently, we've gotten updated plans and they do show the detail, and Kevin has flagged those. So we've started the conversations like, what is this, right? Like, so we've gone out and looked and there's literally like no overhead lights, they're not gonna be safe. So we're gonna see what we do. Again, this money that ODOT has for ADA is to make them ADA accessible. It is not necessarily to make them safe for 14-year-olds to cross, right? That's just not what the money is for. So I'm afraid it's going to be a bit of an uphill slog, but I'm going to start punching. So I'm not happy about it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a safety concern. Anyway. Wow. I'll save my hollow threats till later because Monday they may be all coming out. The last thing I'll add is we are doing the LED streetlight project. We'll be starting. Shouldn't have too much like traffic impact. You might just see some cherry lifts and things around as they start swapping out all of the current overhead Cobra streetlights with the new LED lights. Color wise, I don't know what's gonna do. I'm sure people will notice, but I don't know if they're gonna be more purple lights. If they're gonna be red, they might be blue, they might be white, yellow. I don't know what they're gonna be. Yeah, so I think we did have a choice between like a 3,700 lumens versus like a 3,200 lumens, and I went for the lesser, so it's not like operation room white, but something down from that. But we didn't have a lot of choices. We didn't get the rainbow of choices. It was like super white or like less white, a little more yellow to it. And I'm like, yeah, a little more yellow. It's okay. Those were our choices.
I'm just curious on that one. It says it's tentative date of early to mid-August. How long is that? Like, I'm assuming it's not like we're all going to change them out. No.
Yeah, we've got an agreement with them. Kevin, that's why I don't have a good answer for you, but I can find it out. I mean, it'll be at least a month. It'll be here. Yeah, not like a couple days. Yeah.
Councilor Andrade?
I wanted to go back to the police officer recruit who didn't pass the background check. What stage did that happen at? Like, did we invest in them already or did like,
They go through the written test and then do an oral board and then they go through the full like psych evaluation and all that stuff. And
okay. So we didn't spend any money.
Well, it's whatever it costs.
prior to training, we've not put any training into them. It's all background check stuff. So
Okay.
it's the recruitment process alone. We do pay for somebody to do the background check.
See,
And then, in fact, I don't think on this one we even did the psych eval, I think, because that, we have to pay outside of that. And so it's, we actually have a part-time city employee that does the, police background checks for us. So we can cover them liability wise. And yeah, that's where it got hung up this time.
Oh.
Which I'll
I
know it's
mean,
like the third,
but
if we've had a good candidate, gone through recruitment, had a candidate.
Yeah.
Making through background and they've not passed, so. It's just tough. It's just really tough nowadays. I mean,
I
not
understand.
that you have to be perfect to be an officer, but, you know, felonies, honestly, like recent marijuana use, there's some things that just catch people up. Even things, this was not this person's situation, but just, they look at your social media posts, things that you're copying, things not even that you wrote, but that you repost. And if they see patterns of violence, extremism, any of that type of stuff, you get asked about it, right? And any type of dishonesty, past cheating, anything on your resume that doesn't match up, that looks like it's dishonest, it's tough. It really is tough, and that's what we want, right? I mean, our officers are held to a very high standard. I wouldn't have it any other way, but this is the officer vacancy that we've had for over a year now, right? We just haven't been able to fill it, so.
I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't, done the training.
Part-time,
Sorry, a second.
isn't it a part-time position?
This is the full-time position. We're also recruiting for a part-time code enforcement officer. Because we haven't been able to hire an officer, we have that budgeted money for that position. And so since we don't have the officer, let's hire a part-time person to just help with code enforcement for a while. Because we need some help there as well, because we don't have the full range of officers to do it. That's one of the things that doesn't get done as much when you're down one officer.
Any other questions about the mail?
Well, this is about the ridership on the
Oh.
bus. There was some discussion from the enrollment riders or not. Is there any details that have been thought about that?
Yeah.
Can I put in a request with the city recording? Can we print this one page in color? Because it's kind of weird black and white. I know it has different shapes. But
They're also
Difficult
small.
mostly because if I have to do the entire packet, then the one page, I have to do special. I mean, I can.
I mean, what, okay. Not a big
Or
deal.
not, whether they can get in.
Oh, yeah,
Separate.
whatever. It's not a huge thing. It just.
I think the online version is color. No?
Yes.
Okay. We could do the online version.
That one in particular is a little like, what am I, ooh.
I would say this is the one that should be in color because it looks so nice.
Well, I agree with that. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I wasn't sure what we were supposed to do with this tobacco refill licensing form.
Just an FYI from the county. You see the slides there, we give them the authority to oversee the program in Philomath. Corvallis does their own, they don't have the county, they have their own people that do it. So this is their report to us, to let us know they're doing the work that we've told them that we don't want to do.
Gotcha.
But no violations.
No violation is always a good thing, and they do a good job. They do enforcement. They come through and they'll do sting operations and all.
Okay, any final thoughts? Then this will be our last council meeting for the month. I really appreciate.
Just
Yes,
really
please.
brief things, so I can show the order.
Yes, yeah, please.
Only because Van obviously
Oh.
wrote what he wrote was included in the packet. And I know
Yeah.
that we don't, it's this is one of the frustrating things, I think, that I get faced with all the times, is it just gets delivered like this, and it's like, fuck, it sort of hits, you know what I mean? So that's not anything against Van, but I think I'm disappointed, because in one sense, we really didn't get a chance to
Sure.
kind of have a conversation, a dialogue, even, I don't know if he approached you at all.
No, this is
you
the
know?
first I saw.
Yeah, exactly.
I've talked with him in months past about his thoughts, but
I mean, nothing that he said here is, you know, like really outlandishly out of line, but it's also that kind of at the end, you kind of get poked, and it's like, okay, do you know what I mean? Anyway, I want to, on one level, I want to thank Dan for everything he's done, for all the years that he's done this work. He's completely passionate, I totally get it, and sometimes it's just so fast, it was hard to keep up with him, you know? I wish he would have given us a little bit more opportunity before he just pulled the pin and said, I'm taking my marbles to go home, you know what I mean? Anyway, I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that at least we've seen this, so it just didn't go sliding by.
Yeah.
And then the second one, again, briefly, was just, obviously, you know, we always have to kind of deal, as the mayor has sort of found out about social media sometimes, so you kind of get a little bit more than you bargained for, and bringing out a very good thing. There have been some posts lately in some of our social media on the Philomath Watch one on Facebook comes to mind pretty regularly. About, you know, sort of charging the city council with making sure we're prepared for a wildfire. It was right in the middle where Spokane had its issue, and concerning, right? Because those are whole neighborhoods, Santa Rosa, I mean, there's so many different examples. Can it happen here? Anything greater than 0 is 1, you know what I mean? So even though the chance of it is smaller, it's not 0, right? But I do think that we as a city need to educate folks, maybe through the newsletter or something like that, that there's actually a structure in place about preparedness. In fact, there's an entire planning process. There's an Benton County Emergency Management, of which we're a part of that, as are other areas in the county. And so that is very forefront, and it comes literally from our participation as well as the city. And I think that gets lost in that, so it may be well worth to say, we have a multi-hazard mitigation plan that's out there. It's literally out there, you know, and we've done years of preparedness of it. So it's not that we're sitting back going, I hope it doesn't happen here. But we're actively making sure that there are preparedness plans in place, and that the county, I mean, Brian Lee he's just, and you just bump into him everywhere. He's like all over this, you know, whether it comes to heat problems, smoke problems, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
The county is really very resilient that, and then the city of Corvallis and their working partnership, and then anyway, the point is, I just wanted to make sure that I know that we're clear that we have, as elected officials, the buck kind of stops here, but we're engaged with it, and I want to make sure that was part of this record here,
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilor Trotty?
To that point, I think, I don't know where the resources are. Like I'm sure I could find them if I were to search online, but I guess thinking about ways in which we can, disseminate that information better, like you said, to our community members, but also maybe having him present to the council about kind of the overall plan. Because
Absolutely.
I have no idea what are yes, I might have like, you know, an idea of what I would do individually, but I don't know what the city, you know, plan is, and I'm sure Chris knows whatever extent, like, but I think it's probably important for us to know, even if we aren't, you know, directly managing as individual council members, like parts of it, so that we can share that information. If people need assistance, you know, oh, this is where you go.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of maybe inviting Brian to come talk about that, or we can talk about that more later, but.
Yeah, well, briefly, this topic ebbs and flows over
Yeah.
time. It grows and it shrinks, and we've gone as far as to print out a copy of the emergency management plan and deliver it to every single door, literally every doorstep within the city. We've held firefighting or wildfire events and invite everybody to come to it. I think we held one at the Kugler Hall recently. We've held one at the school district.
And many.
Prior to that, I think David Lowe helped kind of pull team together. Lee Bryant was there, and then so it ebbs and flows of interest. The sad part is people are busy, and honestly, until the house next door is on fire, the tree next door is on fire, a lot of people just don't put as much credence into it as they should. And I don't mean to say we shouldn't still be putting the information out there for people. We definitely should be, but my experience in the years I've been doing this is people are too busy, and it's not a real high priority for most people. Now, if you can gain a dozen people and they're that much better informed and they can spread that to a dozen more people, then it helps. But it's definitely something, I know it's in our strategic plan. It gets, again, prioritized differently throughout the years. But we have talked for a number of years about having Lee Bryant come and present, at least to the city council, and talk about the plan in general and how Philomath and the county work together. I can tell you that Philomath Public Works is 100% dialed in with the county plan. They're in regular communication with the county when there's wildfires or snowstorms or any of those things. Even high temperature events, kind of what's happened at regional level. So Public Works is locked in. Police are locked in. They kind of know what to do. If it's ease, none of you as members of the city council have any responsibilities in the case of a natural disaster. So your role is to take care of yourself and your family and, you know, do those things that are safe and listen for public announcements. So, and in large part, that's kind of my role as well, other than being the spokesperson on getting that through. And even that, I will typically defer to the police chief or to our fire chief, who's running operations for our area, right? So there's a structure in place. There's a playbook that we follow. It's not something that would go with the city council member when you come on as a brand new city council member, because your role in it is really, really pretty small. For the most part, we actually get to direct questions and things to the authorities and kind of let it handle at the central level coming down. But you should still be aware of where those resources are and all that. So I can see about getting Lee, see if we can get him to come. Brian Lee, sorry. Mr. Lee. See about getting Brian over and coming and presenting, at least giving overview of the plan and how Philomath cooperates with them.
Councilor Crocker?
You had talked about in the past, maybe you had delivered them to people's doorsteps. Is that something we could include in the water bill sometime?
No, it's a large packet. It's like 30 pages. Yeah, we like
One
printed and
page.
bound them and delivered. And but all the information's on the website now, and even back then it was, but the council at the time felt it was important for everybody to have a physical copy. And then, you know, a year later, they were out of date and, you know, they wear out over time or they get misplaced. But
I love the newsletter and I read it every month. And is there any way to put like a small thing that would be safety related or emergency related in regards to weather, like tips that are timely, like before wildfire season comes, maybe just one tip on what you prepare, whatever it may. Is there a way we could just do something like that in the newsletter, just in regards to snowstorms or ice storms or wildfires, just a portion of it, even if it's just a group about a website, a link to
we do. I mean, we typically,
Well,
especially if there's ice or wet leaves, ice, you know, that type of stuff. We put little tidbits in here and there, but wildfires isn't one we've done a ton on, just because. I mean, I won't say that we have done that on wildfires in the past, but I don't know if we have like an annual calendar to put one in every year or anything, but
I was tasked with getting people signed up for the emergency notifications, and if we could put that in there, that would be at least a start, and that would cover so many things.
we've done that. I know the school does that during back to school days. They promote that really heavy as well. And so, yeah, no, I'm not
50%
poo-pooing any ideas. I think it's all good. It's just,
No, people that go out and do investments of people's houses, and you're looking at the person that does it. It'd be literally, I've got one scheduled for Wednesday. The people like, how do I protect my house? It's very simple stuff, and that the resources are out there. I guess that's just my point of bringing this up, because I don't want to necessarily get my, what in a ringer with on social media, trying to take on some of the folks that are just like spewing out like we have no idea what we're doing. It's like, well, wait a minute. Hang on. There's actually a plan.
I think it might, I mean, we can talk more later, but I would be open to, seeing if there is some sort of communication we could do from
Well, that was
the
gonna be
city
my
and the
next
fire district
question,
and the
yeah.
county jointly of like, what our plan is, I don't,
Thank you.
yeah,
To figure that how's all, where to find the resource or links to.
yeah. But yeah, we could talk more about that afterwards. I just want to say right before we wrap up, I appreciate you mentioning Van's letter. I agree with your sentiments. I do think it would be good for us as a council maybe to just think about the budget committee process this winter before we start the next one. I appreciate that we asked the committee for feedback. And I just want to make sure we're at least something with that. I did just want to say for the record, there was a mention of an $8 million grant. We got a $12 million grant. So I just wanted to, so I just wanted to just say that there's a missing $4 million in grant funds here. So I take issue with a little bit of the characterization that we did not.
and we'd saved up $4 million that we've spent on the
Correct.
project as well.
Yeah.
That was money we'd saved up over time and put towards the project.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that for the record that I appreciate his point, just that is not correct, and the majority of significant majority of the project is being funded by grant funding and money the city saved up over decades. So just to say that.
Can I just do one thing?
Yeah.
This may just assuage a little bit. This is not 1990. I hate to say that.
I wouldn't know. Okay. Anyway. Well, happy birthday to him. Okay, on that note then, before we adjourn, I really, really do want to thank everyone. We have had a lot of meetings over the last couple months. We've done a lot of really important, difficult work. So thank you all for being part of that. It's great to serve with all of you. I can't state enough how grateful I am for this council and this group of people. I think when there's not that kind of collaborative spirit, things can really go south and really be, just gummed up the works. So just, I know we have not, I know we have not agreed on everything recently, but I think we've done it the right way. And I know I say it a lot, but I want to say it again. I'm so grateful for all of you and for all of our staff. I think we have a really good, some really good momentum, and I can't say that enough. On that note, City Council's filing is due tomorrow at 5 p.m. So we'll see where that takes us. Well, there's only one still on the website. I know several others who, yes. I think 5 people have pulled paperwork, right?
Oh, no, 3.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, a total of 5 have initiated, are in various spots of the process. And by 5 p.m. tomorrow, we'll need to be done with the process.
One's
So,
approved, one is
Yeah.
submitted signatures,
Yeah.
they're getting verified, and 3 are collected signatures.
That's scary
We
to
think
read.
we'll all come in tomorrow at some point, so
Well, man.
Houston's gonna have a very busy day tomorrow.
they don't have to be approved by the county.
They just have to be to us so we can get over.
Okay. So just keep an eye on that. We'll be curious to see who'll be going next year. And, I guess I'll preemptively thank Counselor Nielsen for her many years of service since she will not be running again. So well, I'm sure we'll do more to honor you later. But yes, that's true. I take it all back. No, yes.
Please, thank you. Whoever brought those in.
So on the note of how much time and effort we've all put in over the last couple months, we won't see you again then until September 14th at 7 p.m. unless if you hear otherwise.
So can we really take that off the calendar? I'm just trying because the calendar is so busy. Are we really thinking that that second meeting in August will not take place?
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think
have anything for the agenda.
Okay.
we can say that. If some emergency comes up, we'll let you know, but yeah, there's nothing on there, so.
Always, man.
And we're getting out of here tonight without needing to ask for an extension.
I know,
of time.
it's big news. Any final thoughts? All right, seeing none, I am adjourning this meeting at 9:11 p.m.
Their case was like.